نحن الآن قذيفة إسرائيلية في ذات المحيط خلال تسجيل هذا التقرير.
October the 18th, 2025. At 5:17 a.m., a satellite feed flickered and froze, just as dozens of Israeli loitering munitions broke through Gaza's southern skies. Their infrared optics locked onto over 40 separate coordinates in under 2 minutes. Moments earlier, the world had watched in disbelief as a leaked video showed 50 Israeli hostages malnourished, restrained, and dying in an underground facility allegedly operated by Hamas. The world gasped. Tel Aviv moved. But what followed was no standard airstrike. It was Israel's largest coordinated drone assault in history. Hundreds of autonomous drones filled the dawn sky, overwhelming radar grids, slipping past anti-air defenses like ghosts. It was precision vengeance, wrapped in a digital cloak. But then, something happened mid-air. What caused the swarm to suddenly turn inward, disabling each other mid-flight? And why was the U.S. Navy tracking the whole operation from offshore? If unraveling classified tactics and untold military decisions fascinates you, then subscribe, comment, and let your voice shape the next debrief. This is not just war, this is warfare, redefined. 4:45 in the morning, the command order is signed. Inside an underground war room near Tel Aviv, the Israeli Defense Forces Cyber Warfare and Air Command divisions huddled over satellite-linked maps of the Gaza Strip. Operation Silent Sky had been activated, a pre-cleared autonomous drone strike targeting over 60 high-value sites, including alleged Hamas infrastructure and suspected underground holding cells. Real-time data streamed from Amos 17, Israel's high-capacity communication satellite, directly to F-35 Iyadir strike fighters circling at 35,000 feet above the Mediterranean. However, this was not a manned mission. The human pilots were observers. The attack would be led by swarm-controlled loitering munitions, primarily IAI erupt drones, accompanied by Elbit Skystriker systems as strike reinforcements. 5:12 in the morning, drone swarms enter Gazan airspace. The first wave 72 erupts crossed into southern Gaza from the Kerem Shalom border, flying low, masking their signatures beneath the noise of urban early morning movement. Their guidance systems had preloaded infrared and acoustic signatures of specific targets: bunkers, radio emitters, tunnel entrances. Simultaneously, 12 Skystrikers flew in from the Western Sea, deployed from a modified Sa'ar-6 corvette, anchored just outside Israel's maritime exclusion zone. That vessel was shadowed discreetly by a U.S. Navy Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, operating under international waters with full radar tracking enabled. This detail, not disclosed at the time, would later raise eyebrows in security briefings across NATO. 5:17 in the morning, target acquisition and strike execution. The lead erupt drones reached their assigned sectors, initiating terminal dive protocols. Targets were pre-selected using Project Firewall, Israel's new AI-driven strike decision system. Within 7 seconds, 11 drone strikes hit simultaneously, each warhead designed for deep penetration, minimal collateral yield. But something went wrong. 5 drones in the central cluster deviated mid-dive, spinning upward and triggering their fail-safe detonation mechanisms before reaching their marks. A jamming signal had been activated from within Gaza itself. For the first time, Israel faced a reverse swarm disruption, suggesting that Hamas had acquired drone manipulation or AI interference tech either via Iranian-sourced algorithms or captured IDF systems from previous conflicts. 4:45 in the morning, the command order is signed. Inside an underground war room near Tel Aviv, the Israeli Defense Forces Cyber Warfare and Air Command divisions huddled over satellite-linked maps of the Gaza Strip. Operation Silent Sky had been activated, a pre-cleared autonomous drone strike targeting over 60 high-value sites, including alleged Hamas infrastructure and suspected underground holding cells. Real-time data streamed from Amos 17, Israel's high-capacity communication satellite, directly to F-35 Iyadir strike fighters circling at 35,000 feet above the Mediterranean. However, this was not a manned mission. The human pilots were observers. The attack would be led by swarm-controlled loitering munitions, primarily IAI Erupt drones, accompanied by Elbit Skystriker systems as strike reinforcements. 5:12 in the morning, drone swarms enter Gazan airspace. The first wave, 72 erupts, crossed into southern Gaza from the Kerem Shalom border, flying low, masking their signatures beneath the noise of urban early morning movement. Their guidance systems had preloaded infrared and acoustic signatures of specific targets: bunkers, radio emitters, tunnel entrances. Simultaneously, 12 Skystrikers flew in from the Western Sea. Deployed from a modified Sa'ar 6 corvette anchored just outside Israel's maritime exclusion zone. That vessel was shadowed discreetly by a U.S. Navy Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, operating under international waters with full radar tracking enabled. This detail, not disclosed at the time, would later raise eyebrows in security briefings across NATO. 5:17 in the morning. Target acquisition and strike execution. The lead Erupt drones reached their assigned sectors, initiating terminal dive protocols. Targets were pre-selected using Project Firewall, Israel's new AI-driven strike decision system. Within 7 seconds, 11 drone strikes hit simultaneously. Each warhead designed for deep penetration, minimal collateral yield. But something went wrong. 5 drones in the central cluster deviated mid-dive, spinning upward and triggering their fail-safe detonation mechanisms before reaching their marks. A jamming signal had been activated from within Gaza itself. For the first time, Israel faced a reverse swarm disruption, suggesting that Hamas had acquired drone manipulation or AI interference tech, either via Iranian-sourced algorithms or captured IDF systems from previous conflicts. 5:22 in the morning, Iron Dome compromised. Unexpectedly, a barrage of Hamas Qassam rockets launched from Beit Hanun as the drone swarms were still in operation. Traditionally, the Iron Dome would neutralize these easily, but this time, response was delayed by nearly 17 seconds. According to post-op reports, 2 Iron Dome batteries experienced temporary radar blinding, caused by overlapping electromagnetic interference likely from friendly drone transmissions and Hamas jamming equipment working in unintentional synergy. 1 IDF military vehicle was damaged. But the greater concern? Are we still in control of our own airspace? 5:35 in the morning, hostage site breached. A secondary wave of drones was redirected to what intelligence analysts had geolocated as the hostage bunker, a facility buried beneath an abandoned hospital complex in Rafah. Footage recovered from drone optics confirmed entry blasts, but no survivors were extracted. Instead, charred restraints, empty food rations, and biometric traces confirmed the presence of at least 48 hostages, all presumed deceased. It was not just a military failure. It was a national trauma, and the Israeli public demanded accountability not just from Hamas, but from their own defense ministry. Meanwhile, why was a U.S. Navy warship stationed 38 nautical miles offshore, monitoring every movement yet remaining silent? Was there more at stake than just a hostage rescue gone wrong? What do you believe triggered the swarm malfunction, sabotage, AI hacking, or something far more strategic? Drop your analysis in the comments. You are part of this intelligence circle now. 5:45 in the morning, Israeli ground forces move in. As drone debris littered southern Gaza and smoke rose above Rafah, the Javadi Brigade, an elite mechanized infantry unit of the Israeli Defense Forces, mobilized from their staging base near Niram. With aerial clearance temporarily compromised, this ground incursion was not part of the original plan. It was a rapid contingency insertion. Armored vehicles, including Namer armored personnel carriers and Merkava 4 tanks, rolled through dust-clogged streets under electronic silence protocols. Unit commanders operated with pre-printed maps and voice-only encrypted comms after drone control signals were suspected to be jammed or intercepted. The goal was surgical. Secure the alleged hostage compound, retrieve remains, seize intelligence equipment, and capture Hamas combatants if possible. But urban warfare never goes as planned. 6:20 in the morning, hidden defenses emerge. Just outside the Rafah blast site, a remote-activated improvised explosive device detonated beneath a namer, flipping the 63-ton armored beast on its side. No fatalities, but 6 IDF troops were injured, and the explosion revealed a broader trap. From 3 directions, fighters armed with anti-tank guided missiles emerged from concealed firing points, mostly Cornet-E launchers, likely smuggled from Syria or Lebanon. The Merkava tanks immediately engaged with trophy-active protection systems, intercepting 2 incoming missiles mid-air, but a 3rd missile struck a disabled namer, destroying its rear compartment. Drone air support was supposed to provide overwatch, but with electronic warfare still active, visual confirmation from overhead drones was down to 43% coverage. This was no longer just a precision strike. It had become a ground-level ambush, well-rehearsed and media-ready. 6:42 in the morning. Global broadcast and propaganda activation. Almost on cue, Hamas-affiliated media networks began live-streaming footage from the combat zone via encrypted peer-to-peer networks, showing the aftermath of the drone strike, wounded civilians, and IDF vehicles burning. But one feed in particular went viral. A masked figure holding up what appeared to be a tracking module recovered from a crashed Israeli erupt drone, its GPS beacon still blinking. That moment flipped the global narrative. Within hours, headlines read, "Israel's drone war fails to recover hostages. Raises civilian death toll instead. U.S. monitors silent as Gaza burns." This was no longer just warfare. It was information warfare, and Hamas had just scored a tactical win in the global arena. 7:05 in the morning, U.S. Navy intervenes silently. Aboard the USS Paul Ignatius, an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer floating in international waters off the coast of Ashdod, a classified mission activated. While the vessel took no kinetic action, its AN/SPY-6 radar array and Standard Missile-6 tracking modules began painting both Israeli and non-Israeli airborne platforms for situational intelligence. Sources later suggested that data packets from the U.S. Navy's cooperative engagement capability were streamed to Israeli command centers via encrypted relay, helping them partially recover drone visibility in the area. But the question was, why the silence from Washington? Why no public statement? Was the U.S. simply observing or preparing for a wider regional spillover? 7:30 in the morning, Gaza's airspace becomes a dead zone. Israel deployed 2 Gulfstream G550 CAEW surveillance aircraft above the Negev desert, initiating blanket electronic suppression. Using airborne jammers and signal repeaters, they created an electromagnetic curtain over Rafah and Khan Yunis, blocking Hamas communications, drone navigation, and even some civilian signals. Within minutes, Hamas's local drone fleet fell from the sky, including several crude but dangerous kamikaze-style quadcopters targeting IDF columns. But this blackout also blocked humanitarian coordination, triggering backlash from NGOs and the United Nations. Israel had regained air superiority, but at the cost of international goodwill. If you were in command, would you have ordered a full blackout or sought limited precision instead? Share your tactical call below. Your view matters more than ever. 8 o'clock in the morning, aerial supremacy meets invisible threat. With the electromagnetic curtain active over Gaza's southern corridor, Israel launched the second phase of Operation Silent Sky, full aerial dominance. 6 F-35I Adir stealth fighters departed from Nevada Air Base under complete radar silence. Their flight paths curved over the Mediterranean before banking east toward Gaza, where they dropped decoy flares and performed low-altitude precision runs across potential anti-aircraft strongholds. While Hamas had no conventional air force, Israeli intelligence feared man-portable air defense systems and mobile radar platforms, possibly smuggled from Iranian proxies in Syria. The F-35 second distributed aperture system allowed them to detect infrared signatures of shoulder-fired threats and respond instantly with countermeasures. Within 18 minutes, 7 airstrikes were conducted on suspected command centers, targeting encrypted signal hubs, underground fiber lines, and field commanders' vehicles using real-time infrared scans. But then, radar screens showed something bizarre. 8:27 in the morning, ghost echoes in the sky. Israeli radar stations began detecting what they described as phantom returns, multiple airborne objects, all small, moving in erratic clusters at low speeds. They appeared and vanished, reappeared, then multiplied. At first, analysts suspected radar spoofing, but a deeper data dive uncovered something more sophisticated. These were autonomous drone decoys, launched by Hamas from hidden compartments in Gaza's coastal neighborhoods. Each decoy emitted false radar signatures, mimicking Israeli drone frequencies, effectively jamming radar receivers and drawing Iron Dome interceptors away from real threats. This tactic had never been observed at scale in Gaza before. It was almost certainly the result of external engineering, likely based on Iranian or North Korean drone mimicry technology. And it worked. 2 Iron Dome batteries exhausted nearly 18 Tamir interceptors on empty air. 8:45 in the morning, a direct strike on Israeli systems. As the drone decoys lit up the radar, 2 real kamikaze drones larger than usual flew under the clutter, gliding silently toward the outskirts of Beersheba. Their targets? An IDF data relay tower and a military logistics depot. The first drone was neutralized by a mobile Skyhunter, Israeli Iron Dome on wheels, but the second crashed directly into a fuel storage tank, causing a fireball that briefly grounded nearby helicopters. Israel had gained the skies, but Hamas had shown the ability to weaponize confusion. This was not guerrilla warfare. This was precision chaos. 9 o'clock in the morning, the civilian fallout. As the smoke cleared over Rafah and Khan Yunis, the civilian toll became undeniable. Collapsed buildings, interrupted power grids, communication lines down, humanitarian corridors sealed. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency issued a statement demanding an immediate ceasefire, while international journalists began live streaming from the edges of the electromagnetic curtain, documenting the fallout. But it was one particular story that took over global headlines. A young boy, no older than 10, holding the remains of a drone wing with Hebrew lettering, sobbing in front of a cratered school. That image went viral within an hour, and the geopolitical balance began to shift. 9:45 in the morning, strategic silence from Washington. Back on the USS Paul Ignatius, the Combat Information Center continued to collect real-time ISR, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, data, quietly relaying observations to both CENTCOM and NATO early warning nodes. But Washington remained silent. No press conference, no State Department briefing, not even a leak. Inside the Pentagon, this decision was deliberate. The U.S. was calculating something, perhaps a wider regional move, or the preservation of strategic ambiguity in the face of Iran's potential response. Meanwhile, Israeli leadership stood alone at the microphone. Do you think the U.S. Navy should have stepped in publicly, or did they make the right call staying quiet? Let us know in the comments. Your insight shapes how this story is understood. 10:02 in the morning. A new signal appears. Just as Israeli commanders prepared for a final ground sweep through Rafah, an unidentified digital transmission pierced the electromagnetic silence. Encoded, short burst, and routed through a satellite network not listed on any regional registry. It did not come from Gaza. It came from above geostationary orbit. Israeli cyber units intercepted fragments. What they decrypted shook the inner circle. Coordinates, drone telemetry, command overrides, all in Hebrew. But the signature was not Israeli. Somewhere in orbit, an unregistered satellite node had been hijacked or launched with a singular purpose: to mimic IDF drone command signatures and manipulate flight behavior. The 5 Erupt drones that malfunctioned at 5:17 in the morning now confirmed they were externally redirected, not jammed. The source: a shell corporation linked to Iranian aerospace research, operating via leased Chinese satellite infrastructure. This was no longer a battle over Gaza. This was a battlefield that stretched into low Earth orbit. 10:20 in the morning, satellite war has begun. In response, the Israeli Ministry of Defense covertly activated OFEC Counter, a defensive cyberspace protocol meant to defend and isolate satellite networks. But it was already too late. The damage had been done in the first 6 minutes of the attack. False signals had redirected swarms. Weapon telemetry had been overwritten. The result? A mission designed to rescue hostages had inadvertently compromised Israeli air superiority and given Hamas the propaganda victory it needed. For military analysts watching from NATO, this was not a tactical loss, it was a signal that warfare was entering a new vertical dimension. Ground, sea, air, cyber, and now, space-based drone manipulation. 10:33 in the morning, the unthinkable revelation. As the IDF continued recovery operations, footage surfaced of a previously unseen drone being pulled from the rubble by Hamas fighters. It was not Israeli, not Iranian, not American. Its outer casing bore the logo of a private European defense contractor, one that had gone bankrupt 2 years earlier, only to be purchased by a state-backed investment group with ties to Beijing. A new player had entered the arena. Silently, invisibly, and it had just proved it could hijack an entire drone fleet mid-air without firing a single shot. If military conflict now includes satellite warfare and ghost proxies, how should nations defend not just their skies, but their signal spectrum? Your insights could define tomorrow's doctrine. Comment below. Strategic and tactical analysis. Israel's operation began with a clear objective: deploy overwhelming precision firepower to dismantle Hamas's infrastructure and rescue hostages. Technologically, it was a demonstration of Israel's cutting-edge drone warfare, AI-guided loitering munitions, real-time satellite surveillance, and multi-layered strike coordination. But what unfolded exposed a strategic vulnerability far more dangerous than any surface-to-air missile: the fragility of signal integrity in modern warfare. This was not a failure of weapons. It was a failure of information security. By hijacking the electromagnetic domain, possibly via a state-sponsored third actor using leased commercial satellites, an adversary proved it could reverse engineer, intercept, and redirect military-grade drones mid-flight, turning them into liabilities. This elevated the battlefield beyond earthbound strategy. Consequences on regional and global scales? The fallout has already reshaped how regional and global actors view future warfare. For Israel, it raised serious questions about autonomous weapons protocol and digital sovereignty. For Hamas, it marked a leap in asymmetrical warfare, made possible only through silent foreign enablers. For the US and NATO, the incident was a case study in satellite-based proxy warfare, prompting urgent reviews within U.S. Space Command and allied cyber defense frameworks. Even more critically, civilian perception shifted. Despite Israel's advanced tactics, public opinion across Europe and Latin America condemned the strike, a direct result of Hamas's swift use of propaganda and media framing, leveraging drone wreckage and civilian imagery. This was not just a military simulation gone wrong. It was a preview of what drone warfare will look like in the next decade. Invisible enemies, stolen signals, and wars waged across 5 domains. This was not the first drone war. But it may be the first war that drones never finished. What began as an Israeli military response to a humanitarian crisis, the confirmed death by starvation of 50 hostages held underground by Hamas, quickly became something else. Something unseen. Something far more dangerous. A digital ambush. A hijacked sky. A manipulated signal. At its surface, this was a strike and rescue operation. In reality, it turned into a 5-domain confrontation: land, sea, air, cyber, and for the first time in this region, space. The numbers tell part of the story. Over 140 loitering munitions deployed, 18 confirmed signal disruptions, 1 confirmed satellite hijack, 0 hostages rescued, and the geopolitical cost? Still unfolding. A war without borders, fought without bullets. What matters now is not the burned vehicles or cratered buildings. It is the blurred lines between military and civilian tech, between state warfare and private proxy intervention. Israel's drones were turned against themselves. Its battlefield was infiltrated by code, not soldiers. And its enemy? Not just Hamas, but whoever orchestrated the space-based spoofing system. Was it Iran, China, or a third, unknown axis? In a world where a drone's warhead is no longer its deadliest weapon but its GPS signal, the rules of engagement must be rewritten. For the United States and the NATO alliance, this was a red flare over the digital horizon. Space Force command protocols are now under urgent review. Private satellite contracts are being scrutinized for backdoor access, and discussions of a NATO-wide electromagnetic defense network are gaining momentum. Because the next battle will not start with an explosion, it will start with a whisper in a server, a signal no one notices until it is too late. What is at stake? Not just territory, not just lives, but command itself, the very ability to decide where, when, and how to fight. And in warfare, whoever loses command loses everything. Peace demands power. But power now begins with signal integrity. If this war simulation opened your eyes, do not just scroll past. Subscribe. Leave a comment. Share this with those who still think warfare is fought with boots alone. History is being written in real time, and this time, it is written in code.